Hello. Good day, good day. We're live on all 3 platforms. Welcome back to the Holistic Freedom Secrets podcast. Pardon me as I fix Instagram's point of view. Yes. We are back. It is episode 35 of the Holistic Freedom Secrets podcast.
And we are Holistic Health Coaches. I'm Coach Tensi, and this is my husband,
Coach Soul.
Yeah.
Yup. We make up Ufulu Child. Ufulu means freedom, and our podcast is structured around our 5-prong healing system. The 5 prongs are be, cleanse, fuel, move, and shine.
Yeah.
And since today is Friday, today is Shine Day. Shine is an acronym for share honest, insightful, and nourishing expressions. And today we're honing in on the concept of nourishing and nourishment. Talking about how to nourish our relationships.
Yes.
And how to approach a commitment to connection, specifically regarding intimacy and gender roles, right? That old spicy,
taboo,
triggering topic that people are afraid to talk about because of the media telling them they should be afraid to talk about it, or their philosophy regarding what gender is being manipulated by very evil people.
Out the gate. We're also going to be talking about building connection after the honeymoon phase in, say, like a intimate relationship with your partner. So, yeah, it's a juicy episode today, and it is well before breakfast. So, yeah, I guess what inspired the episode was...
Speaking of breakfast, get in the kitchen. No.
What? What inspired the episode is the very interesting pattern that I'm seeing in the world and my friends, and speaking on our relationships together, where there's this this yearning for truth and this need to reconcile and bridge the gap between a feeling of not quite walking in alignment with what they know to be true, and knowing that they need to do that and not really knowing how to take action on that, or knowing what to do but not doing it.
Yeah.
At least not consistently. So it's a process and it's hard, but everything is in life is like you choose your hard, right? It's either hard in alignment with truth and that you're on the pathway to freedom, or it's hard and you are completely out of alignment and you're on your pathway to being controlled by others and slavery.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And here's the thing. It all connects to the nucleus of the cell, which in our human interactions is called the nuclear family. The nuclear family may look slightly different, but looks relatively the same across time eras and across cultures, which is man, woman, children, or man, women, children. That's the like across times and across cultures.
The most popular, most seen,
most successful, most popular, most seen nucleus of the cell, the family cell, is man, woman, child, or man, women, child, children.
And I mean, every woman that I've talked to, and even men too, oftentimes the examples of what we've seen in the homes are, okay, even if your parents are like long married, for decades, there's some patterns that we've seen to where, say, our moms in communication with our dads were very
vicious
at times.
Yes.
and this wearing away at the 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 will in some ways, to where the father figures in our lives sometimes have become this uh, this piece of themselves
Mhm.
versus a wholeness where they're in full expression and feeling like they can fully be themselves in the home. Um, so I
Well, and
don't. I
feel like protecting the home because they feel like they are the king of their household, where the
versus what
motivation and inspiration to do the protecting and the providing is siphoned away as sometimes the viciousness wears down that feeling of being the head of the household, being the head of something to protect and provide for, right? Being, which maybe even Coach Tensi, but which a lot of people may not really understand the connection to because the norm has been so um, uh, so inverted on its head. But the natural tendency to like want to protect something often has to do sometimes with when it comes to men uh, with the position that he finds himself in, and if
I,
he's in a positive position, then he'll have that natural tendency to protect, even against reason. Right? You hear the loud bang at the door. He goes and gets the door, even if he's untrained in certain arts of defense or whatever. He goes and gets the door because of the position that he's in and the love that he feels for what is supporting him and what he's taking care of.
yes, and in my particular case, I didn't quite see that being lacking because strong father figure, right? Absolutely, my dad is amazing, amazing dad, and a great husband as well. So the protection mechanism in him never faded. The muscle memory and wanting, desire to, and acting out of building a strong foundation for us as best as he could, um, never wavered. However, one thing that I often see is that the just like how, well, whenever things get rocky, especially in finances, in a home, or something happens, someone falls sick, and this unexpected uh, thing brings stress, undue stress. Some trauma happens that's pretty significant in the course of a relationship. Something happens to where, like, both partners are in this state of grief and loss, feeling loss. And sometimes how I saw the women figures in my life react to that would be like a unconscious taking it out on their partners. And then the father figures in my life, and father figures in my life on the opposite end would be into like a hiding, you know. Um, and I would see this more subtly. They wouldn't make a big show of it, right? My parents didn't like have screaming matches and like or anything crazy like that. I'm very fortunate to have grown up in a really stable home. Um, but there was still the subtle. You could tell that they weren't happy with something going on, and that it was being felt and putting a strain on their relationship with each other. Like their relationship with us was strong, but even though they had so much deep love for each other and they loved each other deeply, love for each other, loving someone is a little different. Um,
Fair enough.
and There was this disconnection And as I grew older and started to understand in my own relationships, I'm like, okay, sex and intimacy was probably long gone and at least not to a healthy point.
Consistency.
Yeah, of consistency. According to, and the more that I learned about, at first it would be like this visceral reaction because the feminist conditioning in me would flare up, and I'd be like, oh no, it should be like yada yada, and the man should just know like it's not happening, you know, and just all these narratives coming into my mind, and then I being with him, questioning a lot of these things, and like, is it really valid? Like, I'm not happy, they're not happy, and we definitely both want to be fulfilled and happy in all ways. In all ways, that holistic freedom doesn't it should not be out, like there should be no aspect of life outside of that sense of freedom. And freedom comes with understanding, it comes with order,
And
it comes with
responsibility.
responsibility and
Freedom
love.
comes with duty.
Yes, to
So
act.
so before we get into this specific, topic of gender roles, which will probably take up the most time in this episode, uh, there's some benefits to a healthy sexual connection between, you and your spouse, you and your partner, um, or if it's polygamous, you and your partners, that we should touch on. And one of them is emotional closeness and bonding, which has almost 100%, I'll say 90% to do with the hormonal connection or the hormonal responses to the acts, right? Your actions bring consequences, good and bad. And when you act
Mm.
intimately with each other, a lot of times that involves sex, but also it could involve just
Cuddling,
intimate
discussion.
moments, right? That aren't sexual in nature, but are
Mhm.
either sensual, so touch, smell, taste, whatever, or
Energetically feeling bonded and connected, like that meaningful, like that spiritual connection.
right. And even sometimes conversation can be intimate. Um,
Mhm.
that will release oxytocin in both male and female and result in emotional closeness as your hormones are tied in and intertwined with your emotional body.
Yeah, so oxytocin is kind of like um, the bonding, the feeling connected emotion, the love hormone. I mean, it's not an emotion; it's a hormone, and it when it gets activated in the body, it regulates everything else.
Yep.
So everything else that affects our health, that affects our moods, that affects our sense of stability and security when it comes to our mental, emotional selves, and even like physical reactions in our body, is regulated or dysregulated depending on how much or how little oxytocin that we're getting every day,
Yeah.
or at least consistently, you know? So it all builds up.
And then it also has the effect of stress reduction, which just goes across the board. We are chronically stressed out, right?
Yes.
Especially here in the West, where
All this inflation, honey.
yeah,
All
where
this inflation.
people can't afford to breathe, right? Breath is expensive, and
And groceries.
when we are in that type of stress, where um, you wake up, you're in the middle of the day, and you go to sleep with this cloud over your head, this sort of financial doom cloud over your head, and or the stress from you've got out of the financial
Yeah,
doom
you gotta stay
cloud,
out.
and now you have to maintain it, uh, or whatever, and there's all of these people, vying for your position
Or
or
depending on you.
depending on you, exactly, depending on you, and not really giving you the same courtesies that you give them in terms of looking out for your well-being and looking out for your need for rest and recovery, things of that nature, um, is makes sexual intimacy and intimate connection with your partner that much more important
Yes.
and that much more helpful. And so
And that's because like we gotta be strong foundation if we're looking
yeah.
to have a strong family and to be a good example for the future generations of what that could really look like.
And so there are tangible, actionable, not actionable, excuse me, there are tangible and actual um, reasons why intimate connection and sexual connection with your partner is important for your body, for your emotions, and of course for your mind and spirit as well. There's real life consequences to ignoring your sexual side. And I don't mean disciplining yourself against seeking pleasure over and over again, because that also is important.
Oh yes.
Delayed gratification is also important,
Like
right?
we talked about.
Pornography does weaken certain things, especially in men, stuff like that, right? But aside from the discipline conversation, which is a very important yet other conversation, ignoring your opportunities for intimate connection has real life bad consequences for your body, for your emotions, and for your mind and spirit. So let's talk about duty a little bit.
Okay. Before we do that, can we talk a little bit about hormones?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so remember from previous episodes, differences between men and women. There are literal biological differences between men and women
Mhm.
that they run deep. Okay, so a healthy man has about 15 times the amount of testosterone that a woman does. Okay, 15 times, not 10x, 15x. Okay, and testosterone is the hormone that is like for drive, for motivation, for the go